Namaste, everyone. Welcome to the Cārvāka podcast. Today is time for another monologue, as I have named it, a Coronalogue. So today, as we always do on the monologue, I'm going to speak for the first few minutes. I've actually taken down points, like bullet points of how I want to structure it. So I'm going to talk about specific issues, one point at a time, and maybe give some data points that I have gathered on my cell phone, and I'll explain that. And then after that, as always, you guys can go on commenting in the live chat. As always, as I do, once I'm done speaking, I'll start from the first comment and then I go all the way down and I'll answer your questions, whatever, super chats, questions, whatever will be there in the chat. So let's get started. So the first topic is going to be the initial government response. Now, how was the government response, right? When I say the government response, I mean the Indian government. We don't care about any other government as of now. We are only concerned with the response of the Indian government. So what was the Indian government response? So if all of us remember correctly, the first case that had come up that was recorded was on January 30th. So my notes here say that on January 31st, we had acted by getting Air India and other airlines to suspend on flights to China. And by 4th February, we had stopped issuing all e-visas of the Chinese citizens. After that, also, we were one of the first countries to ban almost all the flights to the hotspots, which were the next hotspots. They were Iran and Europe, especially Italy and UK and America partially. But in India, if you look at the cases, we've had a few cases initially from UK and Italy in our country. One mistake we can say that we did was we did not ban flights from the Gulf nations at an earlier date. I think that was an error we made. Now somebody can retort back to me and say, but how can we ban? I mean, those are Indian citizens. They don't have those passports, so we can't ban them. They have to be sent back. But if we had done that, we should have screened them far better when they had come back. So I think that was one part of the initial response that the government had done that we messed up. But having said that, I think we have to keep in mind one point all the time, that this is India. This is a country with limited state capacity. And in a country with limited state capacity, I think the initial response was commendable. I think the government was silently working. They were doing their things. Now, could we have initially, screened much better? Yes. Is this screening far better than most countries in the world, including European nations and America? Hell yes. But still, I mean, we have to be totally, we try to, at least we should try to be totally unbiased when we are giving our comments. So I think that was one area where I felt we did a little bit of a mistake, because in the initial caseload, if you look at it, 50% of the infected caseload is actually from the Gulf nations. So if we would have screened a little better from the Gulf nations, maybe we would have had an even lesser spread. That's my point of view. But this is all post facto. Post facto analysis is very easy. I can sit on my armchair and say these things, but the government is dealing with the problem on a live basis, on an as it goes basis. So yes, I get it. I get the government had a very little space for maneuverability. But having said that, these are my points of view. Now let us go into the next point. That is the overall coverage in the media, especially the international media. So let us first start with the local media, the Indian media. Now, as always, in my analysis, I still want to repeat, I am not watching a single mainstream media debate, Hindi, Marathi, or English. I am not watching it, but I have watched some news reportage. So what I am doing is I'm following the rule that I will stop watching news channels after 7 p.m. to 10:30, 11 p.m. because that's when the shouting, screaming anchors come. And that's when the so-called discussions happen. I'm not interested in the discussions. I'm interested in the reportage. When does the reportage happen? Basically, it happens from 11 o'clock in the morning to 7. After that, the big anchors come. So we should watch news media outlets for short bites and coverage during that time. Now that we are at home, we have nothing better to do. So that's what I'm doing. Even that, I'm trying to spend 15 minutes watching these news channels, getting bites, getting reports, especially if I'm in Maharashtra. If you want to get news reports, local news reports, you have to watch Marathi channels. They are the best source of information for local Maharashtra news. So I'm trying to watch some Marathi channels, or I'm trying to watch Times Now and a few Hindi channels. So and I think they're doing a decent coverage. As far as the coverage of the overall behavior of the government in the criticism or the appreciation, that I think that there is nothing in unexpected in India as of now. We have the usual suspects in the media who are saying the odd thing, but I think overall the coverage of the media has been very responsible. Even the criticism of the government, I think, has been responsible, if you ask me, from our media. I'm very categorically stating, I think the overall response of the Indian media has been very balanced. They are trying to cooperate with the government even when they criticize the government. Even when, if you look at the daily press conferences, I think they start at 4:30 when the Ministry of Health, Dr. Love comes and talks, and there's the other lady and the other gentleman, the other two gentlemen. Even when they take questions, I mean, you can say, they are not taking follow-ups or they're not giving answers. Sometimes they dilly rally around and they basically beat around the bushes. Having said that, we are getting information every day. We know the number of tests that are conducted and the cumulative number. So as of now, we know yesterday there were 8,000 tests that were conducted, the single highest number up to date till now. And with 66,000 total number of tests, I think our testing labs are now 110, if I remember correctly. We have 110 testing labs right now, and our capacity is to test around 12 to 15,000 tests a day. So we still have a lot of capacity, and we are doing tests very rationally. So that's not an issue. Now let us go into the international media. Now, whether it's the Wall Street Journal, whether it's I think the gold medal of the most third class article in the history of mankind will go to that Vidya Krishnan article in the Atlantic. I mean, that article was just a piece of work. When I actually read that article, I was like, in my head in Hindi, I was saying, यार ये बंदी को क्या हो गया? ये कौन सी दुनिया में रह रही है? ये मतलब हम सेम दुनिया में रह रहे हैं कि ये कोई अपनी विरली स्पीशीज है और ये एक अपने क्लाउड कुकू लैंड में है और ये अपनी स्टोरियां बना रही है. It was a shocker to me personally. The international media coverage is atrocious, horrendous. Sometimes I feel as if they want us to die. They want Indians to die. They want Indians to get infected. They want Indians to suffer. The reaction is borderline. How dare you, third world brown people, do it better than us? How dare you save lives? How dare you do it better than us? I mean, I can go on and on. It's just been appalling. It is appalling the way they are covering us. The one that hurts the most is that when Indians write these things for them, the way the Indian authors are writing in these media conglomerates is just shocking. It is pathetic. It is nothing less than inhuman. It shows a lot about them, their character, their standards, their humanity, their moral center, than us. I think we are doing a fantastic job. I am seriously impressed by the way the government, all governments, by the way, state and center, have handled this. But the way the international media has behaved, has covered this, it is nothing less than atrocious. Now to the main topic. Are we testing enough? Since day one, there is this gang of people that say WHO has said, test, test, test. We're not testing enough. We are hiding numbers. There must be people, millions of them, who are infected by this. We are just not doing anything. See, I would like to point out a logical inconsistency in this. The same section of the media is criticizing the Narendra Modi government of gross incompetence, saying they are totally incompetent. They can't screen enough. They can't supply enough food. They can't supply enough PPEs. They can't supply enough masks. They can't supply enough ventilators. They can't basically supply enough of anything. But the same Narendra Modi government is so competent when it comes to controlling the media, controlling the testing numbers not getting out, controlling everything that is happening in the Ministry of Health and ICHR. It is amazing. ICMR, I'm sorry. It is amazing. Now, either Narendra Modi is inconsistent and incompetent, or he's competent, or he's just another guy, and this is just another government that is going to mess up sporadically and do an overall decent job. It is unbelievable the kind of fallacies that we are seeing. Look, let us assume, for an argument's sake, that maybe we are not testing enough. If we are not testing enough, right? If we are not testing enough, and this disease, this virus has spread to all nooks and corners of at least the hotspots in India. What are the hotspots in India? In Maharashtra, in Kerala, right now in Tamil Nadu, because the numbers have jumped up in Tamil Nadu. So let us look at the screen right now, right? So let us look at the hotspot screens as of now. What are the states that are dominating the list? I mean, the sources, this is the best website as of now. This is the India COVID tracker. So as you see, these are our hotspots right now, right? So Maharashtra, Tamil Nadu, Delhi, Kerala, Telangana, Uttar Pradesh, Rajasthan, and Andhra Pradesh. Let us ignore all the other states because they have very few cases. But at least in these states, right, can we safely assume, at least in these states, there is massive infection rate. Massive. If there is massive infection rate, because if the Modi government is lying about everything, then the Modi government is also lying about the fact that most patients who are infected in India are mildly symptomatic. And most patients in India right now don't need a ventilator. And most patients in India are actually in an ICU condition. If everything is a lie, then basically we should be seeing dead bodies popping out of nowhere. Private hospitals must be having people with breathing problems. Private hospitals must be overloaded with their ventilator capacities. Private hospitals must be overloaded with the ICUs. Okay, the government narrative can be controlled, right? Not the private hospitals. They cannot control everything. The government, if this government is incompetent, then they are not that competent enough to control all the hospitals in India, which are private. Government ko sambhal lenge, private ko to nahi sambhal payenge. So why is the number not popping up from there? I have been doing something religiously on a daily basis. I find out the numbers in Kasturba, I find out the numbers in Reliance, and I call at least 6 to 7 doctors who are either associated indirectly or directly with the government because they are friends, at least for Mumbai. And I can tell you, even as of now, the rate of people on the ventilators and the ICUs is ridiculously low in India. That means the microbial load and the intensity of the virus on Indians. Now, I'm not a scientist. I don't know why it's happening. It could be multitude of factors that are contributing to this. It could be good government work. It could be the BCG vaccination and our inherent immunity to tuberculosis and malaria. It could be heat and humidity. It could be a combination of some of our dietary things. It could be the genetics too. It could be a combination of all these factors together as a total package that basically seems to be protecting us, including the government efficiency of dealing with the virus spread. So if this is happening, I don't believe that we are testing badly. And let us now flip the argument on the other side. Because what is the ICMR testing criteria? The ICMR testing criteria has been updated twice or thrice. Initially, it was strictly, all the symptoms of A type of people. Then they expanded it a little bit. And now, as per the current criteria, they still are testing only people who are symptomatic at least of 2. They show 2 kinds of symptoms out of the 3. Even in that case, if we are testing such a narrow pool of 66,000 people, statistically speaking, logically speaking, the positive infected cases that we have tested till now has to be extremely high. So we know, as per government data, 66,000 people have been tested as of yesterday. The COVID tracker says it is 2974, adding the 429 of today. So it was 2,600 as of yesterday. Now you can do the math. What is the percentage of 2,600? What percentage is 2,600 out of 66,000? It's nothing. It's 3.5% to 4%. I have not done the math. I'm just assuming it's going to be around 4% or 3.5% to 4%. The point is, it is ridiculously low in such a narrow statistical pool. That means the government claim that most of the patients are mildly symptomatic is 100% correct. It is 100% correct. And now let us even further go deep into it. As of now, we know for sure that almost 900 people are Tablighi Jamaat. If we remove the 900, reduce the number of tests in the Tablighi Jamaat by 2,000, maybe they have a 50% infection rate. 3,000. Just imagine there are 1,500 people and 60,000 tests. So I have removed 6,000 cases. The infection rate is literally very low in India. We're lucky. The government has done a good job. You can say what you want to say, but you cannot say that we are not testing enough and that our testing criteria is flawed, because you can't have it both ways. If we are testing a narrow pool, at least 50 to 70% of the people should be testing positive for COVID-19. 3 to 4% are. Even after that, if you're going to criticize the government, then you are just a biased moron. That's all you are. You're a biased moron. Your brain has stopped functioning. Your innate hatred for Narendra Modi, the individual, BJP, the political party, is literally converted into wishing more Indians die. I get the international morons doing it, the international media doing it. Why are you as Indians doing that? Why would you want your fellow Indians to die or get infected? That's the stupidest thing. You should be celebrating, not outside, but inside your houses, that, we are fighting this better. And to the argument that we should not have lockdown, oh bhai, maaf kar do. If we would not have lockdown, and now we know what Tablighi Jamaat did, imagine what would have happened. We are doing the right thing. The government is doing the right thing. I think the testing strategy is sound. We cannot waste our testing kits. We have to be very strategic in our testing criteria. I think we're doing the right thing in as far as I'm concerned. So the fourth point was the logical inconsistencies in the defense and the criticism of the government. I've already covered the criticism of the government. Now I want to talk about the defense of the government by the usual gang on Twitter. The defense of the government by the usual gang of Twitter, there is one side which has used sound arguments, that what I have used here. But then there is the typical, rubbish that is happening, that basically indulges in whataboutery in defending the government. There is no point in using whataboutery in this. Look, the virus, whether you're a BJP supporter or a Congress supporter or a AAP supporter or a TMC supporter, the virus doesn't discriminate. The virus is going to infect you if it's going to infect you. So my advice to all the BJP sympathizers is, if you are going to defend the government, because I've already spoken about the inconsistencies in the critique of the government, if you're going to defend the BJP's work at this time, don't be a toddy, a Modi toddy. Be rational, stick to rationality, stick to points. I think you don't need to get out of the zone of rationality to defend the government. It has done a good job. It is good enough to be defended. And now I want to connect it to the next part, which is the part which I found, I think it has disappointed me on all sides. So that is, our state governments intentionally messing things up. Should we get rid of our political biases at such a time? Now let's take the first part. Are state governments intentionally messing things up? I don't think so they are. No state government is. Whether it's Uddhav Thackeray in Maharashtra, whether it's Arvind Kejriwal in Delhi, whether it's Mamata Banerjee in Bengal, whether it's the CPI government in Kerala, whether it's Nitish Kumar in Bihar, whether it's Amrinder Singh in Punjab, none of them are intentionally messing things up. And this is one side which has disappointed me the most about both support bases, whether it's the AAP support base or the Congress support base or the BJP support base. For 3 days, we saw cohesion and sensibility on social media. And after that, all hell has broken loose. Everybody is attacking the other side's chief minister. I think we should not do that. I think we should get rid of our political biases right now. Yes, there is a way to criticize. For example, there is a genuine problem in Mumbai right now. Since the last 10 days, local grocery shops have not been delivering. I don't know what's happening in Mumbai, but the local online delivery system, I mean, you go to Grofers or you go to Big Basket and you place an order, we're just not getting it in Mumbai. This is a gross failure of the state administration. But that does not mean they're doing it intentionally. That's my point. Yes, there was a temporary shutdown and a massive mess up at APMC a few days ago, but they fixed it. Was it pretty? No, but the point is, it happens. Yes, Dadar market had a mess. They saw the video immediately when a media person showed it. They shut it down and they managed it. And I would like to share some good things also that are happening right now in and around my area. So there is a place near where I stay called Gandhi Maidan. Gandhi Maidan has literally been organized beautifully right now. There are vegetable vendors every day over there. They have made marks for social distancing. Everybody is standing in those lines and they are getting, you have to bring the exact change. It is a fixed rationing. You get your groceries and you get out of there. You pay a fixed amount and you go. छुट्टे देने का सवाल नहीं, कुछ नहीं. It has been managed well. I have heard similar stories in Ghatkopar also. I have called some areas in other parts also. It is happening smoothly. So just to criticize for the sake of criticism because Uddhav Thackeray is the chief minister, because he betrayed BJP, is just wrong. Has he messed up? Yes, he's messed up massively in many areas. Yes. To say that, oh, look at the minority areas, he's not doing anything. Boss, इंदौर में भी तो कल पत्थर पड़े हैं डॉक्टर को. वो क्या उद्धव ठाकरे की गवर्नमेंट थी? जो आज यूपी में 2 केस आए हैं, पत्थरबाजी हुई है, क्या वो उद्धव ठाकरे की गवर्नमेंट है? बॉस, ये तो रैंडम इंसिडेंट्स हर तरफ हो रहे हैं. नमाज पढ़ने के इंसिडेंट्स हर तरफ हो रहे हैं. सो व्हाई आर वी ओनली सिलेक्टिंग उद्धव ठाकरे? Random acts of incompetency are happening anywhere and everywhere. This is a country of 1.3 billion people. Have you forgotten we have limited state capacity? In a country with limited state capacity, I think we are doing the best we can. I would say leave the criticism and the politics for some other day. There is a way to criticize, and let us not get our political bias in. See, what happens on Twitter is beautiful because it points out the mistakes that are happening. It gives you a micro report. But while we are looking at the micro reality, we should not forget the macro reality too. We cannot discard the macro in front of the micro. The key test when times of strife is getting rid of our political biases. It's deeply disappointing how biased we are when we are discussing these things on Twitter. I will not criticize any state government at this time, especially from a political point of view. From a factual point of view, I will. Like the online delivery system in Mumbai is messed up, is a factual point of view. I'm not going to deny it. But beyond that, I don't want to score points on Uddhav or anything. Let the overtly political people do. Right now, my priority is my country, my people, and all of them are my people. It doesn't matter what. Now let us go into the economic impact of the lockdown. What are the potential problems? What can the government do? This is the crux. As of now, obviously, we know the 1.7 lakh crore package that was announced for the poor, which is fine. It is good. Now, some people are saying उसमें actually में तो सिर्फ 50,000 crore है, 1,20,000 crore तो पहली schemes ही थी, उन्होंने इसमें डाल दिया. Whatever it is, they are giving the money, even if it was promised before. Well, whatever. Today, I think 17,000 crores or something was released, and 500 rupees have gone into the Jan-Dhan accounts, or whatever accounts are there. So that's a good start. Second, the rate cuts in the small savings accounts, etc., etc. That is welcome. Even the RBI repo rate changes, etc. They are welcome. Now let us get into the crux of the problem. That is the business community of India. India is still 80 to 90% of Indian business is driven by what we call small and medium scale industries. India is not a corporate driven country. The worrying factor in this entire fiasco to me is, I'll paint you a scenario. See, I'm a businessman. So every business has a current account, right? Now, let's say different banks have different rules. Let's say, I'll give you an example. ICICI has a rule that you can keep 5,000 rupees as a limited minimum balance. Or if you were to go to Oriental Bank of Commerce, which is now, I think, Punjab National Bank, whatever, they have merged, right? 2 banks have merged. So that bank had a rule of 10,000 rupees as a minimum balance. Now, any current account, if you're a small businessman, you know that a businessman will not keep lakhs of rupees in their current account. The moment they receive a payment, let's say they receive a payment of 50,000, they'll look at their to pay and they will write checks accordingly for 50,000 to whosoever they are overdue. That's how business runs. Now this lockdown happens, everybody's current account has basically got a big zero. They have no money in their current account. Now they have to pay their salaries to their staff, to their workers, to everyone. So yes, for the first month, they might break their personal savings and they will give the money. But then you have advisories coming from the state and central governments that you can't fire them, you have to pay them all the time. Boss, how will they pay them? They don't have any money. They will go bankrupt. They will die. Secondly, let's say the lockdown ends. Let's say the lockdown ends at 14th April. I don't know when it will end. I'm assuming right now it is 14th. After that, the businesses are allowed to open in a staggered manner. How will they open? Because the moment they open, they need an influx of working capital to start their business. They have zero money in their bank account. So if the government wants the economy to jumpstart again, in my opinion, this is what the government is supposed to do. See, there are crores of job workers in this country. Most job workers tend to have a case where their GST is never, they don't have to pay a GST. They are in a situation where they get a refund. So I think the government should, as soon as possible, they should release all the due TDS refunds, VAT refunds at the state level for Maharashtra and or other states VAT refunds, and the GST refunds immediately. Second, in textiles, there is something called the Technology Upgradation Fund Scheme. I'm sure it must be applicable to other industries too. All the capital subsidies under different schemes in India should be released immediately to people. This will give them a temporary buffer for working capital. I get that they can't release 100% of the money. So I would recommend the government releases at least 90% of the money, and the balance 10% can be kept with the government, whether it's a TDS refund or any kind of refund or subsidy. And it can be given after due audits in the course of time as and when it happens. But the government should do that. Second, I don't see any other option if other than printing money. It's not me. Even the ex-SBI chief, whose interview I was reading, and she's like, on the short term, I don't think the government has any other option other than printing money and basically pumping in money in the economy. They will have to give working capital loans. Now, how do they decide who gets what? Well, it's a very simple thing. The government can look at your GST calculations, or the government can look at your balance sheet and turnovers of the current financial year and the last financial year, and they can basically say, okay, let us assume you have a 1 crore a month or a 25 lakhs a month turnover. Now you are sanctioned. I would ideally say an interest-free loan, but I know the government is not going to give it an interest-free loan, but it has to be at a very low rate of interest, let's say 6 to 8% or something in that range. I would personally say not more than 6% as of now. And they have to clearly say, okay, even on this working capital loan, we will give you a moratorium period of at least 6 months to a year, where your interest and installment starts after that. If the government does that, gives you this kind of working capital, then the economy will jumpstart. Otherwise, I can guarantee you at least 30 to 40% of the MSMEs, even if the lockdown ends, will simply not be in a position to restart because they don't have any money. I'll tell you why. Because they start the money, they will not send a single goods to their customer because they don't know what is their financial position. So how can you take that risk? Today, the biggest problem is we don't have any good litigation in India. I sell goods to someone. That person basically runs away with my goods. I have no way to track him. I can't get my money back. Nobody will take that risk. If the government does not do it, I think we will anyways enter a depression in this country if the government does not pump in money. I don't know if they are going to pump in money or not. I am not an expert. I don't have a magic wand. This is my point of view on what the government should do as far as the economy is concerned. Like I said, give all the refunds back, at least 90% of it. Look at the balance sheet turnovers, sanction loans, pump in the money, let them start the money, give them a 1 year period. Also, I would say the electricity rates from a long-term perspective, if we want to create ourselves as a legitimate option to China, we have to reduce the electricity rates, reduce the water rates, reduce the municipal taxes, and we have to hope that a lot of business is now going to get transferred into India. So whatever revenue loss the government suffers short term, they can cover it up by printing in money and pumping it into the economy, and in the long term they will anyways recover it because we will be getting a lot of business, and we'll cover it by extra indirect and direct taxes that the government is going to incur over the long period of time. I think the government has to take that risk, because if the government keeps thinking about, oh, what about our fiscal deficit, what if it goes up to 8% in the short term? Well, if it goes, it goes. If your rating goes for a toss, it goes. Because if you don't do that, I believe the country will die of poverty, not of COVID-19. Now, when do we end the lockdown? As of now, in my opinion, the lockdown should not end at 14th of April. I think the lockdown should be extended till the end of April, because as of now, the current data suggests that India is still at stage 2. India has not I most probably think India will not reach the exponential growth stage, simply because of one basic reason. We have put up the lockdown, and we are in a very weird way a highly ghettoized society. That's the sociological reality that has come out of this lockdown. Look at the case of the Tablighi Jamaat. If we were a society that was not ghettoized, the infection rate because of the Tablighis would have hit the roof. But look at what has happened. Even within them, they are so isolated and ghettoized Like even within the Muslims, they are ghettoized. The Tabligis are also ghettoized. So it is only within their circle, or maybe some people that get into their context. It is a very heartening thing that it is not getting infected. I think we should extend the lockdown by 15 days. I know a lot of you might hate me for what I'm saying, but if we do that, in the meantime, we take all the economic measures, assure the businesses get time to apply for the loans, they can get the money slowly but surely, and then boom, we start the economy. I think we'll be far better off than doing this. Another way could be I think that's what the government is thinking. The government might think, why should, let's say, X number of states with 0 cases have a lockdown after the 14th? That's a very valid point. So, okay, the clusters where the numbers are there till the 14th, those clusters don't open. The rest of the clusters can be opened. But here's the catch. The economy still doesn't change significantly because India's economy is primarily driven by Mumbai, Delhi. The metros drive the economy. The metros still have cases till 14th. The economy is not really going to change a lot. So yes, most probably, I think what the government is going to do by the end of this lockdown is we'll have a staggered lockdown where some places will still be locked down and the rest of the country will be allowed to go around do their business. But yeah, it has to be combined with the economic efforts. Otherwise, we are in for trouble. Now to the last point. How has the government communication been? Has the PM done enough in terms of communication? Now, this is a double whammy. Even I'm confused about this. In fact, I deleted some of my tweets because I found them to be contradictory. And I want to admit that openly on my monologue because I've done it today. And I was like, I'm inconsistent, so I should not keep these tweets. So I deleted them. I usually don't delete tweets. This is one of the rare cases. But I was not mentally convinced about my argument. I think I made the argument at the spur of the moment. It was not sound. So now there are two ways of looking at it. I think the PM has not done enough press conferences in this entire period. He has done them, basically it's a 0 figure. I still believe the PM should have come at least for one press conference. If you don't like hostile media like NDTV, etc., the regular culprits, so don't invite them. Although I think he should invite all of them. It's a free country, media should be allowed. But still, I think some kind of questioning should have been there with the Prime Minister. He should have invited them and there should have been some kind of questioning. Not a session where, sir, aap kitne achhe hain, sir. No, genuine questions, and PM should have answered. The HM has done a few, which is fine, but I think even the HM should have done more. Now, somebody might come back, which even I have raised the point on Twitter, that why should the PM and HM come? Basically, what do you want to know? What are the number of cases that are happening daily? How many positives? What are the clusters? What are the statuses in terms of PPEs, masks, health officials? What are the punishments given to the hooligans, etc., etc., etc.? So basically, you have Dr. Love and the team coming and basically answering everything. But I still feel somewhere down the line, even if once the Prime Minister comes and talks to the media, I think it brings confidence, because the words of Dr. Love, I think his second name is Agarwal, do not convince us the way the words of Narendra Modi and Dr. Harshvardhan would. So I think all in all, the government communication has been pretty decent. I would not say great. It would have been great if the Prime Minister and the health minister would have come out and spoken. I'm disappointed with the Home Ministry also, because the Home Ministry has not come out and given us any answers in terms of this hooliganism that is happening all over India, in terms of cops being stone pelted. I know the chief ministers have acted, like Shivraj Singh Chauhan made that tweet, ye tweet nahi chetavni hai, manav adhikar sirf manavon ke liye hote hain. Now Yogi Adityanath has made statements, stuff like that is there, but I still felt the Home Minister could have also come and told us that we'll maintain law and order, don't worry. I think we are lacking slightly in that department. I am slightly disappointed. I think the communication should have been better. That's why I will call that one area to be decent, not special. That's my opinion. You can disagree with me. All right. So I have covered all the points. Now what I'll do is, I have still maintained my 35-minute criteria. Now I'll go to the top, look at all your comments, and then let's see. I'll try to answer as many as them. Unfortunately, I think I can't see all the comments from the top. So I'm going to start from where I can see them. This is from 912. So I think the Western media is trying to hide the government's complicity in initiating a nationwide lockdown, especially in the US. I don't know. I can't comment on that. Okay, let me see questions. Okay. Do you know about how many people Pakistan has tested? They have the same number of positive cases as ours, but they have tested very few people. I'm sorry, I don't know the number, so I can't answer that. But Pakistan has been a disaster. You should see how they have put their people. I mean, they've just taken this big desert area and they've created a camp and they've just thrown people there. Thank goodness we are a democracy. Oh my God, what a terrible place. Let me see. What are the... How does that change in savings rate help you as an MSME? I don't think so. That helps the MSME at all. The only thing that's going to help the MSME is working capital. That's the key thing. Low interest working capital. If we get that, we are set. So Sandeep Menon says from Vashi here, हाँ APMC market बंद हुआ था. Sandeep, I think it started now. I called a few people. What are my thoughts on Bishwaroop Roy Chaudhary's coronavirus videos? I don't even know who that person is. What about Worli? Is the situation under control? यार वर्ली में देख, वो एक तो वर्ली कोलीवाड़ा है ना बॉनी, उधर वो थोड़ा सेक्युलर एरियाज में हुआ है. मैं इसीलिए हिंदी में आंसर कर रहा हूँ. बाकी वो आज कल के जो केस है, कुछ 11 या 12 केस जो निकले हैं प्रभा देवी के, वो एक वेडिंग में एक पर्टिकुलर फॉरेन से व्यक्ति आए थे और उन्होंने 11-12 लोगों को इन्फेक्ट किया था. वो है, नथिंग टू वरी अबाउट एज सच. लो जी, जॉन स्मिथ, बस एग्जैक्टली ये मैंने पढ़ा भी नहीं था. So I stay in a colony near Koliwada, and trust me, police has sealed Koliwada completely. Yeah, they are doing an amazing job, boss. सल्यूट मारना पड़ेगा. मैंने कभी सोचा नहीं था इंडिया में ऐसा काम होएगा, honestly. By the way, if you have put a super chat in the start, I don't know, so please let me know. As of now, I only see one super chat by Shashank with the range of videos of Muslims licking fruits and peeing into weigh scales. Ostracization and dislike against Muslims will increase. Your thoughts? Shashank, I'll answer this later. Let me go down. This is a good question, so I want to answer this. एक बार मैं नीचे तक आ गया ना तो मैं शशांक आपका क्वेश्चन आंसर कर दूंगा. Okay, this is interesting. Though Mamata is doing things well, but few days ago she really messed up by reducing the death number 7 to 3 and COVID positive from 53 to 34. Could have been a error, but yeah, Bengal में से सुना तो नहीं है. Okay, yeah, see, Sonu Goku. Oh, it will increase inflation. अरे अगर नहीं करोगे तो धंधा बंद हो जाएगा, तो जो डिप्रेशन में चले जाएंगे उसका क्या? वहां पे भी तो फिर चीजें ऐसी होने वाली हैं. तो अब you have to take that risk and trust in your inherent robustness. Okay, I want to talk about this. Modi also really messed up by talking 9 minutes buga buga. See, buga buga को साइड रखो, मगर यार कुछ ना कुछ तो देना पड़ेगा लोगों को. अभी मेरे को वो सब चीजें मैटर नहीं करती, but I believe it works for people. It's a psychological thing and it keeps people engaged. So I don't think so it's necessarily a bad thing यार. लोगों को उम्मीद चाहिए भाई. Okay, Rajat. Terror charges against intentional COVID spread. Yeah, Rajat, how will we do that? How will we? Abhi, yes, they have slapped the NSA against these morons, right? That the morons who attacked the doctors, or the morons who were roaming around naked in front of the trouserless in front of the nurses. I don't know what kind of mindset these people have, seriously. But हाँ, NSA तो हमारा ही है ना, National Security Act. अभी उससे ज़्यादा क्या करेंगे रजत? आप भी सोचो ना. This is a very good point. Next comes the facilitation of agro products marketing. That's a very good point, man. Thanks for raising that. Don't you think we will risk hyperinflation if we just start pumping cash mindlessly? We will risk hyperinflation or a short-term measure. But if we don't run the money, see, you don't get it. I'm a businessman. I don't know how many of you are businessmen. There is no money. I am telling you, I will not start my factory. And there will be at least 30 to 40% like me who will basically not start. Crores of people will be jobless. What are you going to do then? Government क्या उनको घर पे बैठ के खाना खिलाएगी? तब भी तो गवर्नमेंट पैसा प्रिंट करेगी उनको खाना खिलाने के लिए. वो पैसा कहां से आएगा कि 90% इनकम टैक्स कर दोगे पुराने टाइम जैसे? Just get real. There is no other way out. Even the ex-SBI chief said there is no way out. Amita, we don't have money in the economy. Trust me, the economy was anyways messed up. And this is just a factory reset. It is like a Control-Alt-Delete to our lives in India. This is a Control-Alt-Delete. Trust me. Okay. Okay, this has to be a LOL moment, that if anybody thinks America is doing this better than India, seriously, LOL at all of them. India is doing far better than America. So Anujay, yes, I agree. और पहली बात तो मैं आपको पहले से एडवांस में बोल रहा हूँ कि अगर 14 अप्रैल को even if the lockdown is lifted, factories won't start before June, July, because most of these workers that have gone back, they are not going to come back before the harvest season. वो बुआई कटाई करके ही आएंगे, तो फैक्ट्री तो वैसे ही चालू नहीं होने वाली है. इसीलिए तो और पैसा देना जरूरी हो गया, नहीं तो उठ ही जाएंगी सारी इंडस्ट्रियां. Oops, sorry, I skipped a few. I have to go up again. Can you please talk about the difference between the antibody test versus the RT-PCR test, and what do you think would be the direction? I'm not a doctor, man. I think I'm not the guy to talk about it. If you want, I can get a doctor on and I'll explain the test. Does the police have enough manpower to handle these problems? As of now, no. We already have a shitty citizen to cop ratio, and ऊपर से look at the pathetic country. We give dandas to the cops, और डंडा लेके जाते हैं वो अंदर, वो उनको पत्थर मारते हैं, वो डंडे से प्रोटेक्ट करते हैं अपने आप को. ये तो हालत है हमारे देश की. Kushal, do you think this will have a long-term impact on how we look at public hygiene and sanitation? Ramesh, that's a brilliant question, by the way. I was just thinking about it, that if one of the reasons that our immunity is high is because of the shit that we eat and how we are. I mean, why are first world nations suffering more than us? Because basically their innate immunity for some odd reason is less than us. It's like, I was talking to a doctor and he was like, he literally said this, and ye kitna vichitra dharam sankat hai. He basically used these words that our body immunity, the Indian body immunity, is like the Gorkha regiment, and the average Westerner's body immunity is basically what? The average civilian thing. Like, we have saved ourselves primarily because of that. And my biggest worry now is that as when we become prosperous, we basically become like them. So we expose ourselves to the pandemic more. So the only solution to this is, in the long run, is billions of dollars have to be invested on vaccines now. I mean, have you guys heard not the last podcast, but the one before that, where he got the doctor, Joe Rogan, and how he's explaining that he's been starved for money in investing on vaccinations? I think the world will now invest in vaccinations. That's what is going to happen. So you were Cārvāka podcast. You were worried about the migrants in Mumbai. Have they all gone home, or the state government managed to stop them? यार देखो ऐसा है कि some went back, many have stayed back, some are in the limbo. तो वो यहाँ से चले गए और फिर किधर और रुक गए हैं. But yeah, some of them are in very bad conditions. But what do you do? I mean, it is what it is. Yeah, we cannot change that part. But yeah, as and when the lockdown ends, I can guarantee you they are not coming back to the factories. They are immediately running to their villages. Whenever that happens, that is the migrant worker mentality. What is the guarantee that people would have listened to the PM as well? There were nutcases who defied his stay-at-home orders as well. Well, I think the PM messaging was messed up on. that day when he announced the lockdown. He should know that people are stupid and they will panic. He should have clearly said, आपको लॉकडाउन का मतलब ये नहीं कि दवाई नहीं मिलेगी, खाना नहीं मिलेगा, ये सब पदार्थ आपको मिलते रहेंगे, अभी नहीं नीचे उतर जाना. He literally has to say these things because he should understand people are stupid. So I think on that speech he messed up. Is the lockdown as unplanned as demonetization? Look at the migration. There is a difference. The demonetization had an excuse, had no excuse. They could have planned it and announced it. They did not. This was not, it's not like, virus tu kab aane wala hai, appointment. This was just, they hit us. So we had no time to plan. So I don't think so I'll be going after the government for this one. Demonetization, yes. So this is not like the demonetization. कोई हमने चाइनीज के साथ डील की थी क्या भाई आजा? How is my business? What do you want from the government as MSME? I gave all the answers. My business is messed up right now. Do you think America will put tremendous sanctions on China? Will it be highly contentious trade war? Dekho, as of now, I don't know what America will do. I think America needs China a lot as of now. So first priority would be getting out of this mess. Then second priority will be making sure that India becomes the I think there will be a new global order. I don't agree with Abhijit Iyer. I think in the next decade, you will see the democracies of the world on one side and the authoritarians of the world on the other side. That is going to happen. I think you'll have a new world order. Francis Fukuyama's end of history basically has gone down the gutter. So you can kiss goodbye to that. So I see America and European nations looking at India as a very big option. I think if the Indians are sensible enough, this government is sensible enough, it should basically open its arms like this and should be like, ow, set up your factories, take your profits back. All we need is 50% of the product procurement has to be from India and Indian manufacturers, and you should hire our people. That's all we need. If we do that and remove a bit of the red tape, I can guarantee you China is messed up. Any views on whether we will see a decline in EU's influence on the world post COVID-19? Does the EU have any influence as of now also? I don't see. Okay, now let's get into Shashank's question. So Shashank was, with the range of videos of Muslims licking fruits and peeing into waste scales, ostracization and dislike against Muslims will increase. Your thoughts? Yeah, that's a big worry. I have been thinking about it. I think it was yesterday or day before yesterday. There was an atrocious trend on Twitter. I don't even want to give the name. I am strictly against that. Yes, I know there is a significant problem in a section of the Muslim community. Yes, I know we are all shocked and appalled at what is happening, but still I would urge everyone through my platform, distinguish between the community and the individuals. Yes, I get there is a problem, but we cannot be bigoted. At the end of the day, there are 20 crore Muslims in this country. यार कहाँ जाएंगे वो लोग? ये भी उनका भी घर है. This is their home. We have to understand that. So we have to be very careful, and I'm genuinely worried. And that's why I've been reaching out to my Muslim friends right now and telling them, भाई अंदर घुसो एरियाओं में, मुल्ले को बोलो, इनको घर में बैठाओ, नाम बर्बाद हो रहा है तुम्हारा, देश का फैब्रिक टूट जाएगा. I've been telling them, let's see what happens. How the government could have stopped gatherings like the Jamaat by the might of the state? I think they could have. They could have. They should have. I think it's a big failure of the Home Ministry. Rajat, I think I took your super chat, right? So could you see the marginalization of Muslims socially after this whole tablighi nonsense? Yes, I'm really worried about that. That is something I'm worried about. And I don't know what's going to be happening in the next 1 year. It's really worrying. Can I try to get Dr. Anupam again regarding antibody tests? That's a very good suggestion, yeah. I'll actually talk to doctor and I'll get him. Okay. What's your take on Pittsburgh University's claim on vaccine discovery of COVID-19? If they are really successful, how many days would it take to come those vaccines in India? Boss, vaccine और 12 महीने के पहले आने नहीं वाली है, and there is no guarantee that you will get a vaccine. Let me just tell you, it is a hit and run thing. So please. What am I doing? First of all, साले मेरे को अंकल जी क्या बोल रहा है? I'm 39. So who are you? What are you doing in your daily routine to keep yourself busy and mentally sane? So I'll actually tell you my daily routine. So I sleep by 2 o'clock in the night. I usually sleep by 1:30. It's nothing changed really. Get up by 9:30. Um, get up in the morning. You have your breakfast. Then after that, I have been basically doing jhadu pocha, that is mopping and cleaning every alternate day, because for some odd reason, the bloody dust in the lockdown has reduced. So roz jhadu nahi marna pad raha. So I'm doing the jhadu and pocha in the house, and every day I'm working out for 1.5 hour, and then I'm alternate days I'm doing jhadu pocha. That is also like a workout. Other than that, I'm watching this series on Hotstar called The Americans. Amazing series, absolutely loving it. After that, I know Ozark ka season 3 aa gaya hai. I'm going to watch that. And currently 4 series are on right now, so you get one episode a week. I think Star Trek Picard has finished, so I'm watching Homeland, Chicago PD, Blacklist. These 3 things are there. Then I'm reading a book on artificial intelligence. Other than that, I am on Twitter. I'm spending more time on Twitter. That is a big disappointment in this lockdown. I've been spending 3 hours on Twitter. I'm ashamed of myself. I've broken my code of 1 hour on social media, but I have nothing else to do in the lockdown, so I am ending up spending more time on Twitter. That's a problem. Conducted 4 podcasts in a row. Today I've done a monologue. Maybe I'll convince Dr. Anupam to come back next week, and we can discuss things as they are at that time. So yeah, that's pretty much the day. I think the only gap that needed to be filled was the 6 to 7 hours that I was at work, and I think some of that gap has been taken over by Jhadu Pocha and the other Jhadu Pocha TV and Twitter. So that's the only change as of now. Okay. Comment about the magic about Mamta Banerjee's making white circles using a red brick needs some lightheartedness now. I don't know. Can somebody? Oh, that video where she tells the sabji wala, you go here. But she drew good circles, man. You got to give it to her. Appreciate her drawing skills. Don't be a hater. So, yeah, that's there. What should be done about China now? Example, the UK had Huawei in their 5G testing phase. Now Boris has Corona and they are pissed. Thoughts on China? भाई वो क्या है? CKMKB वही बोल सकते हैं, और क्या बोले? ठोक दिए पूरी दुनिया की. CKMKB ही बोल सकते हैं. And I think the world has to punish China. Not Chinese people, but China. The world has to tell China, boss, chamgadad mat khao bhai. Secondly, I think the world will realize that we had put all our eggs in the Chinese basket. 65% of the world's steel manufacturing capacity is in China. 97% of US pharmaceuticals, I think, come from China. Most of the toilet paper that the white people use to wash their asses come from China. The world needs to learn. Most of our base raw materials for manufacturing dye stuff and pharma in India too come from China. The world needs to go to a model where even they can't depend entirely on India too. We will basically have to create a model where we are having 15 to 20 nations with a good chunk of manufacturing. I think China has to be taught a lesson. That I'm sure. At least I'm not going to buy a lot of Chinese products. I'll try to my best. Let's say in cell phones right now, we don't have an option, but we know Samsung is a Korean company. Good democracy. So buy Samsung. Don't buy these Chinese brands. Buy Indian brands. Let us do that. At least the revenue aspect of it. I know parts China se aate hain, boss, mujhe mat bolo, mujhe bhi malum hai. But at least the revenue goes to the countries that are good, like Samsung or Indian companies. Let's do that. What do you think of the handling of the situation in US? Yeah, I'm not an expert of the US. I think they are trying their best. I wish them the best. I have been religiously following India. I don't know anything about US. I will not comment about it. Won't you say this is an amazing opportunity to get land and labor reforms done? It is. It will not happen, I can guarantee you. Okay. People should go back to the ancient days. You can go back to the ancient days. We will not. I'm sorry. These bloody chat windows now, they keep going up and down, so it becomes a huge problem. Yeah. You had tweeted on the Tablighi Jamatis not wanting to be tested and problems with euthanasia laws in India. Can you expand on that? Yeah, I mean, I think this is a huge problem. What if somebody does not want to get tested? So I drew another analogy, right? So there was this elderly lady, I think it was in Ireland or somewhere, I forgot the country. She said, I'm 79, I've lived my life. Don't waste testing or those things for me. Rather die. I think the key thing is, if you're infected and you don't want to be treated, you have every right not to be treated. But this is an infectious disease. So what the government should do is they should create a facility, a quarantine facility. You want to be infected and die, that is the place you go. Until you're alive, the government should airdrop food and stuff like that for the Tablighi Jamatis, and they can die merrily ever after. And then after that, the government should clearly tell them that we will not bury you, we will not honor your religious code, we will incinerate you, because that is the safer thing to do. That's my opinion on it. What is your opinion on an emergency UBI for a few months for every Indian? I don't deserve it, Anand. People below poverty line do. I again repeat, UBI is a bad idea because it is money directed at wrong people. I much rather see working capital flushed into the companies, and the companies paying the employees and hiring them faster. That's a much better thing to do. And I think the government has done enough as of now in the 1,70,000 crore package. I don't believe the UBI is needed. It's a bad idea, and it's the worst time to introduce that idea. How much additional damage do you estimate to have been caused to the economy due to the Nizamuddin fiasco? Oh, yeah, I can't even think about it. I get scared about it. My biggest worry is that because of these, Tablighi Jamaat idiots, that the lockdown might be extended to 15 days. And I don't know what's going to happen. I'm really worried about it. But what do? We can't do anything, right? Abhi kya kare? I think, Rajat, I have answered this question anyways, right? So when will things get back to normal? Arun Kumar, I don't know what you mean by normal, as in the life we used to live before this. I think in another 4 or 5 months, I think things will be back to normal. We tend to forget very fast. Human beings are like that. How can we deal with useful idiots and Islamists who are creating problems on a regular basis to handle this pandemic? Simple. The ones who create the problem, irrespective of their religion, should meet the might of the state. And the ones who are not, they should not be done anything. Why aren't you having a podcast on this situation with Mr. Sharma? I think you're talking about Sham, comparing the situation in both countries. I don't know. Sham has not told me, so I guess I'm not gone on that. See, basically, whenever Sham tells me to come on his podcast, I go on his podcast and we do it. So it's like that. It's not a regular feature because he has 2 shows, so he tries to squeeze in time. So whenever he squeezes in time and he tells me, I go. Because that time that he tells me to come is basically very convenient for me, so it's not a big deal. पुलिस वालों को एमएमएस सिखाओ, देन अपना भी एंटरटेनमेंट होगा. It's super necessary. And 3-piece with the soda is going to be served in the street. Yeah, I don't know, man. Why have you stopped the Op India podcast? Because I just did not have time. In the Sham Sharma show and my podcast and my business, I did not have the time, so I stopped it basically. I think I answered this, Ramesh. I told you, let's say we can start by buying Samsung. At least the revenue goes to South Korea. So small steps like this. And in case of home appliances or say बर्तन जो ले रहे हो अपने घर में, इन इंडिया रहते हो तो यार डेफिनेटली इंडिया, मेड इन इंडिया बर्तन मिलते हैं, वॉशिंग मशीन्स मिलती हैं, ग्राइंडर मिक्सर मिलते हैं. बेसिकली चाइना के ब्रांड्स को बॉयकॉट करो. इट्स वेरी सिंपल. PragerU founder said US should not lock down even if a few thousand people die because of the economic impact. Couldn't believe the debate about abortion being wrong. Yeah, I know. Some people really have issues, man. What do you do? Do you think rich countries will now shift to India for manufacturing post-corona? They still want to shift. Our country is not letting them shift because our country is full of moronic bureaucrats. That's the reality. Mm, uh, Jan, I think I answered your super chat. Mm, you don't get it. Privatization will happen. Land and labor reform will happen. But what you need right now is money. Without money, land reform और labor reform को चाटोगे क्या? भाई एक जो दुकानदार है, जो एक छोटी वर्कशॉप चलाता है, उसके पास अकाउंट में पैसा नहीं है, उसको लेबर रिफॉर्म करके तुम क्या देने वाले हो? वो क्या डांस करेगा क्या उसको लेके? बॉस शॉर्टेज पैसे की है. आई थिंक यू गाइस आर नॉट गेटिंग द बेसिक पॉइंट. देयर इज नो मनी इन द एयर. बॉस लास्ट 15 दिन हो गए हैं, माय कंपनी हैज नॉट, लास्ट 12 दिन हो गए, माय कंपनी हैज नॉट रिसीव्ड अ सिंगल रुपी इन चेक्स. हाउ एम आई गोइंग टू राइट चेक्स? यू हैव टू गेट दैट पॉइंट. With AQI and other environmental changes, if not significant, taking place due to the lockdown, do you think this may have any impact on future policy making? I don't think so, because this is too short a time frame to have such kind of major shocks in the environmental impact. I think we need a much larger. I mean, we can try 1 year lockdown and then we can talk about it if you really want to. India cannot distance itself from Russia, at least, because arms and ammunition, still a lot of our parts are Russian. So I don't think so that's going to happen. Home Ministry issues addendum to the guidelines issued regarding lockdown to exempt shops of agricultural machinery, its spare parts, including supply chain and repair, truck repair. Oh, yeah. The problem is that it doesn't go down to the cops. Now, let's say I am a spare part machinery follower. I even have the paper. I can tell you an incident of a workshop in Bhiwandi that is manufacturing bottles for pharma companies. Now, the pharma company guy is in Rajasthan. I can't disclose the name because I got a call at 12 o'clock in the night. He's like, यार ये क्या चालू है, हमारी हालत खराब है. I hope that guy's issue is solved. बोलता है मेरा supplier भिवंडी में. The cops in Maharashtra went and shut him down. He's like, भाई, I am exempted. नहीं तुम्हाला बंद करायचं है. And they shut him down. So these are the problems that we are facing. You live in Maharashtra. How good are your Marathi comprehension skills? I actually get it pretty well. Kushal bhai, कब election लड़ रहे हो? If a guy wants to get into politics, then how can a middle class guy end up in parliament? Any advice? My advice to you is पैसा कमाओ, ये सब छोड़ दो. Get Sanjeev Sanyal on your podcast before the world ends. यार छोड़ो यार. The guy has better things to do. He is the economic advisor to the PMO. इस समय बंदे की फटी हुई होगी. तुम छोड़ो यार उसको. मेरी podcast पे आने की क्या जरूरत है? Some news articles report that China has reopened wet markets after deviously claiming that they have won the war against COVID. Doesn't this necessarily ask for stringent actions against China? It does. यार मगर अभी हम हमारे को तो बचा लें, फिर actions की सोचेंगे. I'm seriously appalled as to why the Home Ministry isn't being questioned over law and order. First Shine-Bagh, then Delhi riots, then migrant crisis, then Tablighi in the space of a month. Yeah, nobody. I think the Home Ministry is like the Voldemort. Thou shall not be named. Did I like Star Trek Picard? Yeah, it was time pass. I mean, I'm a Star Trek nerd, so yeah, I like anything in Star Trek. I never liked Star Wars. I always liked Star Trek. You should make a thread on which people we should follow on Tripper. कौन काम करेगा यार, इतना छोड़ो यार, जिसको follow करना है करो. Which book on AI? अरे यार अभी यार वो book का नाम, let me look down. Kindle खोलनी पड़ेगी आपको बताने के लिए. I'll tell you the book. Where is my Kindle? Here. Sorry, it's going to take a couple of minutes to open. It's a slow process. Super Intelligence by Nick Bostrom. That's the AI book that I'm reading. Am I a self-made man? Are you doing a family business? I'm doing a family business, but we added some new businesses once I joined. So yeah, I don't get this self-made man analogy. I think we're all self-made, and there's nothing wrong in adding to your family fortunes. Obviously, it's the luck factor is there, but I think it's a good thing if you work with your family. Could you Could you do a deep dive into what do the people who subscribe to the ideology of Tablighi Jamaat believe in? You don't need to deep dive in that. They're just stupid people who believe in religion. Anybody who believes in religion like that are stupid. Blinky Blue, कल मेरा birthday है. Very good. Happy birthday in advance. It's all about Chinese pricing. I agree it's all about Chinese pricing. That's why I said the government has to look at short and long term. Long term, the government needs to think about electricity and water rates. That's what the government has to do. And then, look, you have to understand, one of the major factors for the Chinese rates is also the scale at which they manufacture. We don't get the economies of scale also. If we get the economies of scale with reasonable input costs, I think we can beat them. ओके कहाँ गया भाई यार, यही होता है, ऊपर भाग जाता है, बड़ा इरिटेटिंग है. UBI doesn't do anything for the economy, right? It doesn't incentivize productivity or employment. That's why low interest rates for MSMEs are better idea. Absolutely. You need more productive people right now. If you give UBI, this is the worst time to give UBI. वैसे ही लोग घर पे बैठे हैं, ऊपर से और पैसा दे दो मुस्टंडों को और सबको बिठा दो घर में. और क्या करेंगे? कुछ नहीं करेंगे, बैठ के ऐसे ऐसे अपना चूना मारेंगे और वही खाएंगे बैठ के. सत्यानाश हो जाएगा. Any thoughts on WHO? WHO KMKB. Okay, what are your thoughts on what should be parents' approach while raising a kid? How do we raise them to be intellectually astute but yet not become narrow-minded and bigoted at the same line? Teach them philosophy. I think that's the best thing. I think once any child reaches grade 5 and above, they should be taught philosophy. They should be taught the Socratic method. They should be taught the Upanishadic method. They should be taught how Krishna questioned Arjun questioned Krishna. I think they should be taught the Q&A sessions of the Upanishads. How Socrates told us and taught us to get into the truth of everything, keep on asking constant questions, I think. And the biggest difference that you need to teach children, I think, is that criticize ideas, don't hate individuals. Hate the individuals like Bin Laden. Dil se nafrat karo usse. Dil se Hitler se nafrat karo. Magar just because Islam is a bad idea, just because Tablighi Jamaat is horrendous, just because there are some morons doing weird things in the Muslim bastis, doesn't mean we hate all Muslims. Similarly, just because some stupid Hindus do some stupid things doesn't mean we hate all Hindus and call them kufr. That's for the Muslims to decide. That's not my problem. But yeah, that's the first thing. I think if we teach our kids to learn to differentiate between ideas and individuals, I think we'll do a good job. Kushal bhai, session with apostate prophet on Act 17 apologetics. I'm not interested here. I have nothing against ex-Muslims, bhai, please. But I'm just bored of that whole thing. नया कुछ दो यार, बोर होता है अभी उनके साथ. Sumit, what do you think about Delhi police under Amit Shah vis-a-vis Shaitan Bagh? You know my views. I'm not a fan. I've never been a fan, by the way. If you have been a consistent viewer of this podcast, you know I've never been a fan of the man. Are you watching Ramayana, Mahabharata or any other shows that have been recasted on DD? Not at all. I've watched them enough. I don't need to watch them again. There is a massive shortage of PPEs in all state, and this doctor got put behind bars for it. It's a tragedy. I think it should be criticized, and the media should talk about it. Okay. ब्यूरोक्रेसी एंड लीगल रिफॉर्म्स के लिए क्यों डरती है गवर्नमेंट? क्या लॉबिंग है गवर्नमेंट? भाई गरीब देश है, समझा करो. गरीब देश है, सरकार जीतना चाहती है, वो सब चीजें नहीं होने वाली है. बियॉन्ड द पॉइंट प्रैक्टिकल बनो लाइफ में. जो मांग सकते हो मांग लो, जो नहीं मिलने वाला है वो मत मांगो. मैं ये कहूंगा. What do you want to say about Putin's constitutional reforms, including ban on same-sex marriage? मेरे को उसके constitutional reforms मालूम नहीं है. If he has banned same-sex marriage, I think it's ridiculous. I don't agree with it. यार जिसको शादी करनी है करने दो, कौन सा तुमने ठुकाई करनी है अपनी उधर जाके? तुमको जो करना है लोगों को करने दो ना। तुमको कौन सा मैरिज का भी ठेका लेके रखा हुआ है, कौन किससे शादी कर सकता है? ओ यार किसी को बकरी से शादी करनी है करने दो, जो करना है करने दो, एज लॉन्ग एज बिस्टियलिटी इज नॉट देयर। वो किसको पेड़ से शादी करनी है करने दो, वो पीपल के पेड़ से करते हैं ना शादी, वो कौन से मंगल वंगल का होता है कोई ड्रामा, वो नहीं तुम लोगों को अजीब लगता? जिन लोगों को सेम सेक्स मैरिज से प्रॉब्लम होती है वो लोग पेड़ से शादी करते हैं लोग इधर। वो पता नहीं क्या था, वो ऐश्वर्या राय तो कुत्ते से की थी कुछ, तो पता नहीं क्या हुआ था। How do we deal with the anti-business mindset of Indian people? Every time someone says reduce taxes and regulation, the average guys on the street shout "सूट बूट की सरकार"। भाई सोशलिस्ट कंट्री है, टाइम लगता है, मगर दिस इज द अपॉर्चुनिटी। सबकी हुई है फटी, अब जो करेगी सरकार वो एक्सेप्ट हो जाएगा, क्योंकि मोदी की कॉन्फिडेंस, मोदी के ऊपर सबको कॉन्फिडेंस है। इफ ही सेज बिलीव मी आई विल पुट यू आउट ऑफ दिस, पीपल विल एग्री। चलो यार अभी 1 घंटा 10 मिनट हो गया, अभी मैं फटाफट आपके क्वेश्चंस लेता हूँ, लेट्स रैप थिंग्स अप। भाई स्टार्टअप कंपनीज का क्या हाल हुआ होगा? वो स्टार्टअप से स्टॉप हो गई होंगी, और क्या यार, जिस जैसा मेरा फटा हाल है उनका भी फटा हाल है, सबके फटे हाल है। भाई अगर नोट छपे नहीं और लोगों को पैसे नहीं मिले तो गारंटी समझ ले बहुत लोगों की नौकरियां जाने वाले। देख रिटेलर का सिंपल है, रिटेलर को तो डेली रोकड़ा मिलता है, मगर मेरे जैसा बिजनेसमैन है जिसका कोई रोकड़ा नहीं है, क्रेडिट पे धंधा करते हैं, भाई ट्रस्ट कैसे करोगे कस्टमर के ऊपर कि मैं उसको माल दे रहा हूं उससे मुझे पैसा आने वाला है? सबकी फटी हुई है। क्रेडिट रेटिंग नाम की कोई चीज नहीं है इंडिया में, क्रेडिबिलिटी खत्म हो चुकी है, नोबडी इज गोइंग टू ट्रस्ट ईच अदर। बहुत बहुत ट्रिकी टाइम है। What's your guess on the number of casualties? I think maximum 500 casualties होंगी, deaths होंगी इंडिया में। I think if we end up with that, I think we have won this. Uh, Did you light candles? ये कैसा क्वेश्चन है? अभी तो कैंडल जलाना आगे है ना भाई, तुम अभी जला रहे हो, तुम लिबरल लगते हो। Can you advise us how to start reading the Upanishads, and are there any prerequisites to it? No, there are no prerequisites. You can just start by buying the book by Sarvapalli Radhakrishnan, the principal Upanishads. There are 14 Upanishads. You can read that. That's a good start. This is a good question. I have to answer. Yes, my views on yogi have changed a lot. Thank you, Nimish. You are not. How do you deal with crony capitalism in India? By getting law and order fixed. Have I watched Upanishad Ganga on DD National? Yes, it was a brilliant series. As a Cārvāka, you must watch. You may rethink on your belief. I had watched it when it was released originally. My belief still remains the same. मांगलिक थी ऐश्वर्या, मांगलिक थी तो क्या कुत्ते से शादी करा दी उसकी? कुत्ते से कौन शादी कराता है? Please call Dr. Indraneel Khan, the Kolkata-based oncologist, to your podcast. He got reprimanded by the police for posting a tweet about the lack of PPEs. ये मैं पता लगाता हूँ, मेरे को पता नहीं है। Okay, my favorite Star Trek series and character. I think the original Star Trek, and my favorite character obviously is the Nimoy, Spock. I think that was my favorite character. Live long and prosper. I was the best guy. I was always into rationality and no emotions. So I was always fascinated by Spock. What a character. Listen to Lex Friedman's podcast on AI. Is this his podcast or he was on some podcast? Thoughts on Khabib versus Tony? और पनौती लगी हुई है, 5th time it has cancelled यार. I don't think so that fight is going to happen ever. एक तो दिमाग सड़ा हुआ है, कोई भी साला स्पोर्ट्स चालू नहीं है। अरे एक ही स्पोर्ट देखता था मर मर के, मतलब 2 बॉक्सिंग और MMA, सारा ही दिमाग सड़ा हुआ है इस समय। When you get excited, your Punjabi accent comes out. You are right. Do you watch Tarak Mehta? No. वॉच मैंडलोरियन ऑन हॉटस्टार. ये वो है ना जिसमें वो बंदी है जो एक्स एमएमए फाइटर थी मैंडलोरियन में. यार मैं उसका नाम क्यों भूल गया हूँ यार. शी वाज जिसको क्रिस साइबॉर्ग ने हराया था फाइनली. आई फॉरगॉट हर नेम. शी इज देयर इन मैंडलोरियन आई थिंक. Khabib versus Tony on PlayStation is the only option. Yeah, that's what it looks like. Well, when you get law and orders, that means you will get justice. So you start believing in the state more. So when you start believing in the state more, you don't have to be a crony capitalist. Then you become a guy who does business honestly. Do you think Amit Shah should resign after this crisis is over? No comments. कुछ मालूम नहीं है. Can BCG vaccination cure corona? No, but it can help maybe in some ways, as some non-peer reviewed studies till now have shown. It does tend to restrict the spread or the stop the microbial load from increasing. So yeah, okay. Thanos was right after all. No, he was not. Stop thinking like that. तुम अगर वो 50% में से हो जो अगर उड़ने वाले हैं ना, तब देखना मैं देखता हूँ कितना थैनोस की तारीफ करोगे तुम. एक मिनट. All the younger F1 drivers are playing F1 on PlayStation on race weekends. Your MMA guys should do the same. They are actually playing Call of Duty on Twitch or something. They are playing those war games. A lot of MMA fighters do. ये क्या है? Have you watched शेरगिल मूवी? ये सस्ते वाला पाकिस्तानी नशा. ये कौन सी पिक्चर है भाई? मैं नहीं देखता ये सब. तुम्हारे को और कोई काम नहीं है? What? Legend of मौला जेट. ईमेल करना मेरे को ये. ये क्या है? टेक केयर ऑफ योरसेल्फ एंड स्टे अवे फ्रॉम स्वीट्स. मैं 6 महीने से मीठा छोड़ चुका हूं भाई साहब. मैं वैसे ही मीठा नहीं खा रहा. Do a podcast on automation and jobs sometimes in the future. Good. If you have any real good experts on this, please let me know. I'd like to talk to them. Why do I have a feeling that divorce rates are going to rise due to this lockdown? It has risen in some countries, but अरे बाबा फ्रांस में it's so sad. Domestic violence on women has increased. वो पता नहीं किधर तो आर्टिकल मैंने पढ़ा. So that is very sad. But I don't know if divorce rates will increase. हो सकता है यार, पता नहीं, कुछ बोल नहीं सकते. Only the women can say that. I don't want to answer that on behalf of the women. Call रंगनाथन अगेन. मैं गुड आइडिया. आनंद से बात कर सकता हूँ. आनंद आएगा कि नहीं कोई गारंटी नहीं. आनंद क्या है, उसकी फेवरेट टाइम पास है. मतलब आई एम नॉट सेइंग इट्स अ बैड थिंग. इट्स गुड थिंग दैट आनंद गोज ऑन टीवी. बट आनंद है ना रोज रात को 9 बजे या अर्नब के साथ होगा या टाइम्स नाउ के साथ होगा. आनंद की रोज की ड्यूटी वहां होती है और मेरी पॉडकास्ट की टाइम और आनंद की टाइम मैच नहीं होती. या तो मैं प्री रिकॉर्ड करूं और फिर उसको रिलीज करूं, क्योंकि लाइव तो हो नहीं सकता आनंद के साथ, क्योंकि मुझे लगता है आनंद का परमानेंट टेंट है उधर. आनंद उधर ही होता है. तो रंगा को बुलाओ कैसे, मुझे समझ नहीं पड़ता है. Where do you sit when you conduct the podcast? In my room? ये कैसा क्वेश्चन है? What are your views on Yogi before and now? See, my reservation to Yogi was not that he's a bigot, this, that I was ambivalent to. My reservation to Yogi was very simple. I don't like the idea of a monk becoming a politician. If he would have become Ajay Bhisht and become a politician, I would not have shown any reservations. Yes, some of his past speeches are problematic, but most politicians and their past speeches in India are problematic. But the way he's handled this entire corona crisis and the way he's dealt with Japanese encephalitis in UP, it's admirable. The man is doing a great job. So yeah, I think he's done a good job, and my mind has changed because of those things. Did you watch the Republic debate on the Abhijit tweet? No, I don't watch that shit, man. I saw a few videos that Abhijit had sent privately. It was like, ye dekh, kya ho raha hai? Beyond that, yeah. This is a Ranga. Just give me 30 seconds. No, he always says, just give me 2 minutes first. Then he says, just give me 30 seconds. Please be accurate. Okay, I think let's wrap things up. Yeah, it's an hour and 20 minutes. Once again, uh, thanks a lot for the super chats. Thanks a lot for all the questions. As always, it was fun chatting with all of you. Please take care of yourself. Please take care of your elders. Don't get nervous about the lockdown. Don't think too much about the future. I can assure you, um, the government will take care of us, because if they don't, unki thuk jayegi. They know that. And not only through me, through a lot of people who are in touch with people in the government directly, indirectly, etc., etc. I can't say more. They are listening. There is communication happening between the government and a lot of people. They're taking ideas. The suggestions that I have given here about the refunds and the working capital loans, this has actually gone to the government too. They are very open to suggestions. Believe me, this government is open to suggestions. I am shocked. I never thought our politicians cared for us, but I've seen, and all politicians, by the way. And I'll tell you one small incident before I wrap things up. So, a friend of mine, he's working with one of the chief ministers. So, these chief ministers' conferences with the prime minister happen. Beyond the media glare, a lot of things are discussed. And I was talking to him on the phone. And he said, "Yaar," this was his words. He's like, "Yaar, मेरी image of chief ministers and politicians change हो गई." मतलब क्यों? बोलते ये तो care करते हैं हमारे लिए. He actually was shocked that they cared for us. They actually do care for us. Are they corrupt? Yes. Are they horrible? Yes. But when shit hits the roof, they care for us. I'm very confident. I'm amazingly impressed at the way India has taken care of this scenario and situation. I have to say, I had expected a catastrophe in India, but the way each and every state and central government has handled this is nothing less than admirable. And I hope all of you also take care of yourself. Just to remind all of you, as of now, whatever revenue I'm making on Patreon, I will be done. I've already, whatever revenue I made on Patreon or through this YouTube money, I have donated it to the PM fund. Even for this month, I will donate it to the PM fund. So I want to once again thank all of you for the support, especially last month and this month. All this support, it will go to the right cause. I'm thinking, should I give this money to the PM fund this time? I might give it to Seva Bharti, because I think Seva Bharti, the bang for the buck, because there is no corruption in Seva Bharti. So I'm just thinking. I have not decided till now, but definitely, once again, thanks a lot for all your support. Don't lose hope. Once again, don't lose hope. We will be winners. We will come out of this. We will have an amazing life. Take care of yourself, and I'll see you once again in a bit. Until then, Namaste, Shubhratri. See you next time.